Shalom, brothers and sisters. This is Yahuda ben Israel. In Israelite law, we believe that we should live in peace and we should live in prosperity. We have laws that we use to enforce peace and prosperity, and particularly peace. The primary one is Leviticus 19 and 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. Leviticus 19 and 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. Now, I'm going to play this video that will show several instances when Leviticus 19 and 17 has been broken. And after this video plays, I'm going to explain what would happen if we were living in our own land. I'm also going to explain what we would do if while we're living in the land of our captivity. Now, this video is from Enjoy the Moment NE. It's the Commandment Pillar, Rabbi Matthew David Dorr, Black Jews, Hebrews is the name of it. And if you read what it says the following is a collection of events that have occurred at the Ethiopian Hebrew Synagogue located at 1 West 123rd Street, the first black synagogue in New York. Long story short, an outside entity has made an illegal attempt to steal the temple, apparently for its real estate value. This group has physically attacked and otherwise prevented members of the temple from attending services. The family of the founder, Rabbi Matthew, and the members of the congregation continue to fight this battle. Well, this was made in 2011. So this is an old video, and I'm using it because, well, it's on video. But let me say this before I start to play this video. This happens in a lot of camps, congregations, and synagogues, so it's nothing new. It's nothing that people should use to slander the people at the temple, at the synagogue. So let's watch this video.
Rabbi W.A. Matthew, the late chief rabbi of the Ethiopian Hebrews of the Western Hemisphere, was born in the year 1892 in Gold Coast, West Africa. This was, of course, renamed Ghana under the rule of the late Kwame Nkrumah.
Here to attend service.
While still in Africa, Rabbi Matthew received his
smicha
from the Falasha community in Gondar,
Is there
Ethiopia.
service today?
The future leader of the Hebrews came to the United States searching for better opportunities in the year 1914. After his initial theological training, he set about the founding of the Commandment Keepers Beit Hatzfilah Ethiopian Hebrew congregation.
Cops were told
this was a great achievement.
there is an injunction in place.
Was the first
The
Hebrew
cops are saying they're not
congregation
going to do
in
anything
America,
about that.
led by a rabbi of African parentage.
What you're doing? Is that
Rabbi Matthew proceeded to organize a seminary. He founded the Ethiopian Hebrew Rabbinical College, which was another first. And that there now was a college in America, training Falasha men to be rabbis and teachers of the Hebraic language and the Hebraic faith. I might add that the Ethiopian Hebrew Rabbinical College is recognized and chartered by the city and state of New York.
Now, there are many instances in this video where it's obvious that people violated Leviticus 19 and 17. And if we were living under Israelite law, what should happen, and this includes the elders in the video, male and female, is they should appear before the judges and the priests to determine if they violated Leviticus 19 and 17. Now, it's important to recognize, and this is where the real issue comes in with a lot of brothers and sisters, is this picture right here. This picture is of a brother with his hands through a jail cell, or as the scripture would put it, put in ward, and he's studying his Bible. Now, a lot of brothers and sisters have an issue with this for a variety of different reasons, but it's important to accept that violating the law is an actual crime that can have a person told to appear before the judges and priests, or put in stocks and put in ward before a judgment. In other words, locked up, because they are a danger to themselves or to the community. We are not a religion. This is a law, an actual law and order issue. Another example of brothers and sisters not seeing things as a law and order issue, and I'm going to use this as an example because it's very prevalent today, is that when two people lay with each other and they're not husband and wife, according to the law, they aren't, and that they should be married. Well, they aren't married. Those two people are criminals. I've said this in previous videos. They're not husband and wife. That's criminal number one and criminal number two. And depending on the situation, when they go before that judge and that priest, or even before then, they could end up in stocks. They are in handcuffs. They could end up in ward after they are judged, because they're a danger or considered a danger to themselves or to the community. These are very serious issues, and the reason that we enforce this law is so that hatred that brothers and sisters have for each other does not spiral out of control and be spread to family members, be spread to friends, be spread to people who have absolutely nothing to do with whatever reason some brother is hating another brother. Now, of course, today, most of us, at least, none that I'm aware of, are living under actual Israelite law. So this complicates things because it's almost impossible for brothers and sisters to take forgiveness seriously because they aren't being made to. They aren't, like in this picture right here, where they are made to sit still and actually learn and practice forgiveness skills. The fact is that even if we were living in our own land, under our own law, most people wouldn't even report this as a crime. As a matter of fact, that's true about most of our crimes. It's just not something I've talked about a lot. Most people just wouldn't call our version of 911 and said, hey, this person did this, that, and the other, unless it was some type of murder, theft, something like that, maybe, most of the time. But in something like hating their brother, most people just wouldn't report that as a crime. So that spirit would spread. And it's sad, but it's true. Hopefully, people will be ashamed enough of their behavior so they will choose to practice forgiveness, because they will begin to understand how that hatred can spread to people who have absolutely nothing to do with the situation and can eat them up. Cause them high blood pressure, cause them to have heart attacks, cause them all type of stressful are the results of stressful behavior, all types of health issues. Now, if we were actually living under Israelite law and this was something that was being enforced, then this brother right here or a sister with their hands through this jail cell and a Bible in their hand should be put in a position where they just aren't in here just to sit there and read their Bible, but they should be in a position where they would have to take and learn or take forgiveness classes and learn how to practice forgiveness. Forgiveness is a skill that can be learned. And I'm going to show a good book, a nice book that teaches actual forgiveness skills. Actually, the New Testament, a lot of the teachings in the New Testament is focused on how to forgive or has to do with dealing with hate. It's just scattered throughout the New Testament. But there's a book that I like, and I don't usually recommend books, but I'll show it towards the end of this video that actually teaches forgiveness skills. So again, this is something that should be enforced by the children of Israel. Most of the time, it still wouldn't be. People still wouldn't report it. They still wouldn't see it as something serious, which is sad, but it's true. And that's how it is today, because we're not, definitely how it is today, because we're not living under Israelite law. Now, those that eventually see the importance of seeking grace by practicing forgiveness, if we were living under Israelite law, is something that will be recorded by the priest in the form of the offering that they make after they've forgiven, after they've truly practiced forgiveness. Then brothers go and give that offering to the priest. So in other words, the person who's either convicted of violating Leviticus 19 and 17 and is like this brother on this picture right here, or the person who was never caught but still, because of their shame, decided to practice forgiveness, would both have that broken spirit sent back up to the heavens, duly recorded by the priest. Now, the biggest problem amongst the children of Israel are those brothers and sisters that say that they don't need to practice forgiveness. They don't need to worry about that because they don't hate. And that other people shouldn't either. Now, those people, with all due respect, those people are just not knowledgeable, or they are liars. The fact is that they hate, but they do a good job covering it up. And if we were living in our own land under our own law, they may never appear in an Israelite court because of their hatred. So the best thing to tell people who will say that they don't hate and other people don't, other people shouldn't hate, the best thing to tell them is that the law is for sinners and not the righteous. Now, the reason that this is the best thing to tell them is that it is a waste of time arguing with those people about whether they hate or not, because they will not admit to it. Most of them won't admit to hating. Plus, when you tell them that the law is for sinners and not the righteous, they are so self-righteous that they wouldn't stand there in front of you and deny helping the sinners. They just wouldn't do it because of their own self-righteousness. Now, the thing about those individuals who say that they don't hate and other people shouldn't is that eventually that hateful spirit that they have will spread. It will show. It will show in how they treat usually the people closest to them, their husbands, their wives, their children. And it will show in the reaction that their husbands, their wives, their children, or their friends have in dealing with them. So it will show. It will show. So in other words, they can only hide it for so long. And because of our law, especially if a law like this is being enforced, especially if someone decides to call our version of a 911, it will eventually show in a court case with somebody ending up like this picture right here. Because you have to remember that hating a brother or a sister doesn't only show itself in what I showed or what we saw in that video, but it shows itself in acts of violence. It shows itself in theft. It shows itself in almost every other crime that is actually within our law. As a matter of fact, it's my belief that almost every crime that is in our law should have this crime of hatred of their brother or sister added on to it, because it's going to play a part in almost every crime that's committed against a brother or a sister is hatred. So it's going to show itself with that individual who says that they don't hate. It's either going to show itself through them eventually, but even if it doesn't, it's going to show itself in somebody that they love and they care about, somebody that they're close to, because that spirit spreads just like every other spirit. Now, like I said, the main places where you can find out how to forgive is actually scattered throughout the New Testament. And because there are brothers and sisters who don't read the New Testament, who don't deal with the New Testament, what I will do is recommend a book called Forgive for Good, A Proven Prescription for Health and Happiness, written by Dr. Fred Luskin. Now, I found it to be an excellent book that teaches forgiveness skills to brothers and to sisters. It's a book written by a man who practiced forgiveness, who taught or teaches forgiveness. He's actually a teacher, I think in San Francisco and Santa Barbara, and he studied forgiveness. And so this is the name of the book. This is the front of it: Forgive for Good, a proven prescription for health and happiness by Dr. Fred Luskin. And this is really the only book that I would recommend concerning forgiveness. I like it. I've used it. I was surprised to find that a lot of the things that he teaches are already in the New Testament, to be perfectly frank. It did surprise me. But I think that this is a little bit better for brothers and sisters because, frankly, it goes into a little bit more detail about the steps that should be taken in order to forgive. In the New Testament, it kind of gives a more of an overview of things, of what brothers and sisters should do. And some of those things brothers and sisters already know. Meditate, prayer, which is actually in this book. But there are other things that are a lot more specific to forgiveness that are in this book. As you can see here in part 1, creating a grievance. Part 2, forgiveness. Under part 1, creating a grievance, renting too much space to disappointment, taking things too personally, the blame game, the grievance story, rules. And I mean, you'd be surprised at how much of this stuff is actually scattered throughout the New Testament in stories in some cases. And just things that brothers said to each other in order to continue to spread the faith in the laws of the Heavenly Father. So I'm going to end this video right here. And hopefully brothers and sisters can understand the importance of forgiveness. And I see that some do, and I'm glad to see that. When it comes to the 12 tribes coming together as they should, because forgiveness will play an extremely important part in that. And even more importantly for brothers and sisters to understand is that, as this picture denotes, it will be enforced. It will be enforced. So I hope brothers and sisters were able to get some understanding from this video, and shalom.